The reason for creating the video is that most people who saw me while I was working on the logo asked me loads of questions about what kind of tools and techniques I was using. So I finally decided that it's better to have a video which might help other people who have similar questions. So this video I'm breaking it down into two sections. The first section explains the different design ideas which went behind the logo itself. And in the second section, I'm going to show you how I created it actually in Illustrator. So let's get started. Now, coming to the actual design of the logo itself, there are many things which you have to consider. Like the logo has to be easy to remember. The logo has to be easy to associate. The logo has to be bold. It has to be scalable. And obviously the logo has to be practical. So after going through loads of revisions, I finally came up with this logo. Now the entire logo was pretty much designed on paper, so I'm not going to go ahead and show you all the steps which I took and all the things which I had to do to get to this level. So instead, let me go ahead and directly show you the different measurements which I had to go through. Now what you see on the screen is basically all the maths which is behind the design of this logo. Now first step, I basically use 18 grid on the width and 10 grid on the height, so it's 18 cross 10 grid, and within this grid I have two main circles. So I have one circle here and another circle here, and both of these have other inner circles which basically give you the tube-like appearance. Now once I have this, I basically use the 2 width as my default. So here I have cut out this one particular circle at this level, and also this particular circle is cut out and it's coming down and it's also having the same second width. Now a couple of main things which I had to consider while doing this are basically the different measurements which I have to use while this bends and such. So let's look at that. Now when this angle starts, this one I wanted it to be 60 degrees, right? So this angle is supposed to be 60 degrees from the origin or the actual horizontal axis, so that had to be taken care of. Next, apart from that, as you can see, this circle which you can see here is actually the curvature of this line here at the bottom. So I wanted this curvature, and that is exactly 1 unit radius of this circle. So that is what this is showing you here. Apart from that, I have this outer circle which is giving me the radius here. So this circle is giving me the radius of the bend over here at the bottom. So I had to take care of that too. So basically in Illustrator, I'm going to show you how I'm going to put in all these measurements to get that result. Also, as you can see here, this line which is going here at the bottom and this section at the bottom have a little bit of gap between them. So I'm going to go about and show you exactly how you can increase such gaps and have such let's say additional excludes which are coming out of the surface itself, and use simple masking to get that detail. So the maths is pretty obvious if you just observe the different measurements. I've put in all these small circles which give you loads of details. Now also another thing to note here, as you can see, the actual measurements show you that the space between the logos or the gap over here present between the two loops is actually pretty small. It's actually 1/4 the unit. As you can see, this is 1/4 of the unit, whereas on the actual logo itself there is a lot more gap. The reason for this is when the logo becomes small, you can see that this gap will start getting closed. So therefore, when the logo gets smaller, I wanted a practical approach which will increase the gap, therefore making it easier for people to know that okay, there is an actual loop over there. So these are pretty much all the considerations you had to take care of while I designed the logo. So let me go ahead and show you exactly how it was built. Okay, so now to creating the actual logo in Illustrator, what I'm going to do is first explain which object I'm going to create. I'm going to tell you what is my reasoning behind, or what are my steps to go about creating it, and then show how I created it. Right, so to first begin with, let me go ahead and create a new document and set up some basic things. As you can see, I need my grid setup where I have this 10 cross 18 grid, and this is the same ratio for the canvas, and this is where I'm going to create my logo. So this is what I want to first set up. So let me go create a new document, and here while creating, let me just give it a name. And right now the unit is in pixels, so I can keep it as it is. Next, I only want to make sure that the width and height are in the right ratio, which is 18:10. So yes, it's at 180 cross 100, so that's perfect. So let me go ahead and create that. Now, once I have this document created, next step is to go ahead and turn on my grid. So I'll just go turn on show grid. And when I do that, you can see there is this very awfully huge grid which is created. So I need to go ahead and edit it. So as you know, the height is 100 units and the width is 180 units. So basically, wherever I see, I want the grid units every 10 pixels. So I can go to Edit, Preferences, Grids and Guides, and over here I'll just tell grid line every 100. And this is basically what I want, but you can see that it has subgrid lines which I don't really need. So let me go ahead and get rid of that. The subdivisions, I'll just set it to 1. Okay, done. So this is basically I have 10 units going across on the top to bottom, and I have 18 units going across. So this is the first step. Now the next thing is, if I go ahead and create any objects in here, you can see it doesn't really snap to the grid itself. So that's kind of an issue for me. I can go to View, turn on Snap to Grid, and now when I try to create something, you can see it snaps exactly to the grid, which is awesome. So that's the next step. Now also, if I go ahead and try to create an object here, you can see here that Illustrator automatically goes and snaps the outline to the corner of the grid, whereas I actually want the fill of the object to be snapped to the grid itself. So if I remove the outline and give it a fill value, you can see that the object is not snapping to the grid. So it kind of messes up with my maths. So that's why I don't want any of the objects which I create to have any outlines or strokes. So therefore, objects have no strokes and they have any particular color fill which you like. Okay, so let me just give it blue. Okay, so this is what I have now. So now my file is ready. So let me see exactly which object I want to start with. So as you see here, I have this and this object here. This is nothing but the entire circular section. So basically what I want is to create these loops. So I want 2 of these loops created. So let me go ahead and finish that up. So to create them, I'll take the ellipse tool, and starting here at the top, I'm snapping them exactly and creating it over here. So as you can see, the position of this ellipse is exactly given. It's starting at the origin 0 0, and it's exactly 100 pixels. You have to make sure you look at whether or not this is at exactly 100 pixels, because sometimes when you're trying to create it, the initial point might be a bit off, and therefore you might get a decimal value like 0.05 and such. So you have to make sure you're always looking at the transform values. Okay, so I have this object created. Next, I want to create the object inside it. So for that, I'll just go ahead and create from here. I'll just change the color for this, so I know exactly these 2 are the ones. I'll just see whether or not the values are correct. Yes, they are. I'll go trim, and I have this loop ready. So basically that's one step done. Now I have this loop ready, but as you can see, I want to cut it down at the bottom over here, and also at the top it's cut down at a different angle, right? So the top portion and the bottom portion both have certain trims applied. Not only that, this loop which I have here on the side has a certain trim applied to this edge, and it has a different edit which is being done on the top. So basically, whichever loop I have the top and the bottom portion completely separated out. So I want to just go ahead and separate the top and bottom portion right here. So to do that, I'll just go take a line tool. I'll go ahead, create a line starting at this grid point, and I'll just set it to 0 degrees. Oops. 0 degrees. So basically it's going to go across this way, and I'm giving it 1000 pixels. So when I create it, it's going to create a long line which is going across. I don't really care about the length of the line. Now all I want to make sure that this line which I have created is exactly at 50 pixels, which is half of this actual canvas. And as you can see, if I let go of the outline, I can't really see it. So if I want to be able to see all the outlines, I can go press Ctrl Y on the keyboard. It takes me to the outline mode where I can see all the outlines. There should be a shortcut here. Yes, you have the shortcut here, preview and outline, Ctrl Y. Now to get this half portion cut out, all I have to do is select these 2 objects, and I'll just go tell divide. And when I do that, it creates a group for me, and this group pretty much has all the parts inside it. I'll just go ungroup this and remove the parts which I don't really care about. Okay, so once I remove them, I have the top portion and the bottom portion separated out, right? So whatever I have created now, I can go ahead and duplicate that onto the side. So for duplication, I'll just go ahead, use Alt, click and drag along with Shift so that it intersects over there at the edge, and it's done. I just had to make sure that the X and Y values for transforms are exact. So this is pretty much done. Now next step is, if I come through here, you'll see that this loop is supposed to flow through into the next loop, and whatever trim I apply here is basically applied to both of these. Let me explain it a little bit better. So here I have this loop which is flowing through, and it's supposed to go in at the bottom, and now this loop which is going here at the top is basically cutting it over here. So what I want is this loop and this loop to be a single object, because both of them have the same thing applied, so I don't want to do the same operations multiple times. So therefore I'm just going to go ahead and merge them together, right? So here I'll select this and this loop, I'll go weld them together, so I have a single loop. Okay, so this one is done. I have a bottom portion here and a top portion here. Perfect. Now let's see what exactly is the next step. Now as you can see here, the bottom portion of this loop is completely cut out. It's not going to extend completely, so therefore I want the bottom portion of this also being cut out. So let me pull this up so you can see what's happening. So now I want this cut out here. So to get that cut, I'll take a rectangle tool, I'll create the rectangle so it exactly stops there to create that cut for me, and now I can go ahead and directly use the pathfinder and I have this cut. So perfect, I have this portion completed. I pretty much have this portion completed. It only has that detail to be added in over there now. Now here comes the tricky portion. I need to add in the section which comes down from this upper portion here, from the upper loop. Now to create this, I'm going to make use of the line tool. Okay, so I'm going to create this line here which you can see. Let me increase the size so you can see better. Okay, so I need to create this line, and as you can see, this line is going across, and as I had said, this is supposed to be 60 degrees. So let me just explain a bit of the maths here. As you know, I'd explained that this angle here is supposed to be 60 degrees. So this is 60 degrees. So this is supposed to be 60 degrees, and now I want a line which is actually going across in this way. So basically I have a line which is going here, and now this line is supposed to be exactly 90 degrees to the 60 degrees. So basically I have a line which is going across 60 degrees first, and then I wanted to rotate again another 90 degrees. So basically 60 plus 90, that's basically 150 degrees. So this line which I have here is going to be 150 degrees in total, right? So all I'm going to do is create a line from this point, and this line is going to be 150 degrees. This is just basic geometry. It's quite logical if you just observe it, so I'm not getting too deep into it. If you're getting confused, just relax and just go through it once more. So I just need to create a line which is at 150 degrees. So coming back in here, I'll go ahead, take the line tool, and because I have my grid snapping already turned on, I can come back here and click here exactly in the center. And now I have my option to create a line of any length at any angle. I'll just go set this length at 1000. Well, I don't really care about the actual length, and here the angle is supposed to be 150, and I'll create that. So as you can see, the line is created. Now I'm not going to apply any strokes to this line, but I am going to select it, set the actual reference point to the bottom corner to see whether if it's at the right position. I don't care about the width and height because I can't really get the exact values. I'll have to calculate them. Now once I have this line ready, what I'm going to do is use this line to slice open this top loop, because what I want to do is basically have this as a separate portion which is coming outwards, right? So to get this, I need it to be a tangent on the circle. So this is the circle I have, and this is supposed to be a tangent on the circle. So here I'm going to cut out the top portion, so I'm going to get this. So this is going to be a complete different section, and then once I have that portion cut out, I'm going to add this portion extra, right? So this portion is going to be an extra here. So this entire section which you see here is going to be an addition. So to get that one, I'm going to select this line and this. If you're unable to select it, just go into Control Y, the outline mode, and you can select it. And I'm going to go ahead and divide. So now once I've divided, I have two different objects. I'll go ungroup them, and this portion I don't really need. I can get rid of it. So that's deleted. Perfect. So I have this portion completed. Now what I want is to add this additional section here, this portion which is supposed to come at the bottom. So I basically want this portion extended. So for this, what I'm going to do is basically I'm going to create a rectangle, and I'm going to keep it here. So basically this rectangle is also supposed to be at 150 degrees. So it's something like I'm taking a rectangle which is over here and rotating this 150 degrees in this angle to get it in this position. So I'll come back here, take a rectangle tool. I'll just create a simple rectangle. I don't care about the length. I've just created this. I'll give it a different color. Oops, I don't want a stroke. I only want fill. Okay, I'm just going to make sure that the transform values have no errors or mistakes within them. And also I'm going to turn off align to pixel grid because I don't want my transform screwed up. Now, what I want is this object to be rotated from here in the center. So for that, I'll take the rotate tool. Using my Alt key, I'll go take the pivot point and snap it to the center. It gives me this options, and obviously I want it rotated 60 degrees because I'm starting it already from 90. So I'll just hit OK. So I have this object created. All I have to do is merge it with the old one. So perfect. So I have this entire section created now. Now the next step is to create the other part of the section, which is here, the base of the E. So basically I want this portion, the base of the E, created. So for that, let me go ahead, select all these objects. I'll go apply a transparency on them so that I can still work. Now to create this, I'll just go ahead and create them. I'm not going to explain a lot here. Okay, done. So I have the base of the E created, and I have this portion created too. So now the next step is to get the actual circles here, which can give me the smoothness. So basically what I'm looking for is this circle. So you can see this has a larger circle over here and a smaller circle over here. So how exactly do I get that? Now, to get this circle, I basically need this exact point from where I have to create it. So as you know, if you have a circle, if you create tangents on that circle, they're always going to meet at some point, and this circle is going to always be at a 90 degree over here. So basically this is what I want. So if I have two lines which are intersecting, if I create a circle which has these two lines as a tangent, I can basically get this. So that's what I want to do. I want to create this line and this line as a tangent to this circle. So I want a line which is going through these two exactly at half the angle upwards, right? So let me just rephrase that. I have a line which is going downwards here, and I have another line going horizontally here. I want another line which is exactly bisecting them or going exactly halfway in the angle between these two, so that when it meets it over here at this grid line, I can create this circle. So to create this, I'm going to make use of this line which I had created previously. You can see this was the line which was created from this point. So using this line, if I create a line which is half the angle, it will come exactly on this line. So what exactly is my process here now? If I create a line from here, you know that this is supposed to be 150 degrees. But if I consider that line from this point, so from this horizontal section, this is going to be nothing but minus 30 degrees. So if this is a minus 30 degrees, then this is another minus 30 degrees. And as you know, the entire 360-degree angle forms a circle. So from 360, I want to subtract 2 times 30, and basically 300 degrees. So I want a 300-degree angle coming till here. So starts here, ends here. So this line is 300 degrees from this point over here at the top. So let me come back here. I'll go ahead, take the same line tool. From here in the center, I'll click, and this gives me 150 degrees. Perfect. I have a line which is going towards the top. Now I want to start another line which is exactly starting here, but if I click, you can see that it creates a line which is going somewhere halfway. The reason for this is because grid snapping is on. I'm going to turn off grid snapping, and I'm also going to create a grid line. I'm creating a grid line and putting it over here. So now when I take my mouse here, you can see that there is an intersection point. Clicking here, I can now create anything I want. Okay, so I don't want the length to be 1 pixel. I want it to be, let's say, 100 pixels, and the angle, as you know, is 300 degrees. I'll hit OK. So as you can see, the line is being created and it is coming exactly to the center over here. So that's what I want. There is a special line created there. I'll just delete that. Okay, so I have this line which is coming here at the bottom. Now what I want to do is draw the circle. To do that, I'll create another grid line which is going to come and snap here. So now if I come back to my outline view, you can see I have this point where both of these are intersecting. This time if I go ahead and create a circle from this intersection point and stop it exactly at this intersection, you can see it touches the line here and it touches the line here. So that's exactly what I'm looking for. So I can go ahead and create another circle which is going to intersect this path at the bottom. So you can see it intersects here and here at the bottom. So perfect. I have pretty much everything done. All I have to do is go ahead and trim and weld these things properly. So I'll just go ahead, apply a few colors on these objects so I can see them a bit better. Okay, so first step, you can see that these objects which are created have been extended a lot. I don't really want them extended, so now I can go ahead, get rid of the unnecessary lengths. So I'll go trim this off. Okay, so similarly this object has also come out, so I don't really want that out, so I can go get this and trim this off. Okay, perfect. So I have these two objects which I can basically merge together now. So let me go ahead and merge them. So now I have this object, but it does not have a smooth corner at the bottom. There are a couple of scripts you can find online which can go ahead and directly create smoothness values for you. I really am a traditionalist. I like this method, so I'm going to stick with it. Okay, so I'm just reducing the opacity so I can see exactly what's happening now. Now, to create this smoothness, what I'm going to do is I'm going to create another circle which is going to start exactly from this point, the corner point of this. And this circle is basically going to extend exactly till the intersection point or the anchor point here. Now the reason I've created this way is now if I cut these off together, trim them, you can see it creates this circle which is exactly starting and stopping where the smoothness is supposed to be. So using this, I'm going to go ahead and trim. Oops, it has to be in reverse. So this one goes on the top and trim. So as you can see, it immediately created this curvature for me. Okay, that one is one step. Next step, the final one. Here you can see I need to add in some extra details. I can't really lose it. So one of the easiest ways to get this done is actually go ahead, use the pen tool, increase some and do such, but I like my method. I'll go create a circle here. I'll go snap it to the anchor point there, and I can go about this on the top, trim these. So now I have a circle which has the exact value of that curvature. I can go ahead and merge that with the final. Perfect. I have all these items pretty much done now. So all these curvature values are done, and I have this loop coming downwards. So pretty much all these are done. Now the final step is to create this separation between these two objects. So what I have is this separation which I want to create. So this is quite easy to get started with. So as you can see, I have this object which is passing through. All I need to do is extend this and use that to trim out the values of this object. So to do that, I'll just take this object, I'll copy it, and on this object I'm going to go ahead and create a mask. So in this mask, I can use my Alt key to click and go into it. I'll go ahead and add a complete white mask to begin with, because I want the entire object to be visible first. If I come out, you can see the object is visible. Now if I go back into the mask and add any object which is black in color and come out, you can see this is invisible now. So I can go ahead and move this object, and you can see this object goes invisible. I'm not trimming, I'm not doing anything special, it automatically does it for me. So now what I'll do is, within the mask, I'm going to paste in this loop which I have, and I'm going to just give it a black color. So coming out of it, if I turn this off, you can see that it's automatically created this gap for me. So to get the actual separation in the gap, what I will do is, going in here, taking this object, I can go ahead and just use the stroke value on this object. So let's say I want a stroke of about 10 pixels. As soon as I do that, you can see there is a new stroke applied of 10 pixels, and if I come out, there is a gap which is created. Now obviously I don't want this to cut off anything over here at the sides. So as you can see here, it's extending the outline even here. I don't really want that, so I can go ahead and remove any unnecessary sections of this. So for that, let me go ahead and create this object. I'll use it to trim this away. Okay, done. And now I basically have this outline which is doing it, but as you can see, there is this slight kink. This is because of the trimming which we have done. So to get rid of this, all I need to do is go into the stroke, and I'll just tell I want it smoothed out. So basically all those kinks are removed. Coming out, I basically have this now. I can go ahead, select the object which I have. Okay, I can select the object which I have, change the amount of stroke I have, and immediately I can change the amount of gaps. Okay, let's edit that a little bit. That's unnecessary. Okay. Okay, so now if you want to edit this value, you can just go ahead and edit the weight. So let's say I want a 5-point weight, and immediately I have the 5-point value inside. Perfect. So now if I go ahead and apply a single color to all these objects without any opacity. Oops, I don't want the stroke, I want it to be on the fill. Okay, so pretty much my entire logo is done. Now what I can do is come back and get rid of all the parts which I didn't really need. And also, if you want to finalize and you don't really want to be using the mask, if you want to export a SVG file or something as such, you can go ahead and release the mask, so that you have this object which is taken out this time. And let me go ahead and show you what I'm trying to do. I'll hide all the other objects. Okay, where is this? Okay, let me just go to the outline view to check. Okay, it's here. Perfect. Okay, it's in the end there. I'll go ahead and ungroup this whole thing. I don't want this part, I'll remove that. So basically what I want now is the object which I have selected. I want this to basically go ahead and trim out this value, but I want the outline to be used. So for that, I can select any object. I can go to the object panel, and over here I can tell path, outline, stroke. So when I do this, it basically creates an object which is an outline itself. So it creates paths for the outline. And now I can go ahead, choose these objects and trim. So now a perfectly good logo which I can go ahead and use anywhere I want.